So sorry about the glitch in the last clip. The YouTube video after that one I just showed was actually really interesting about another woman who hit the wall, and I had to completely erase the attempt I just made at this section because I dropped my cell phone. So anyway, we're on the home stretch, so here we go. So moderate aerobic exercise, more oxygen is available because you're not as out of breath, so you're getting more oxygen to the muscles for aerobic metabolism. So you can use not only glucose, but you can also use fat as fuel. In order to use fat as a fuel, oxygen has to be available. Hint for your quiz. And if the reason you have more endurance when you're exercising at a moderate pace versus a vigorous pace is because the glycogen stores are depleted more slowly. So the next thing that influences what fuel is used is the duration of aerobic exercise. The first 20 minutes or so of moderate aerobic exercise, you rely primarily on glucose from muscle glycogen for ATP production. This is an average. The better shape you're in or the more fit you're in, the faster you get to the fat burning process. Now, people who adapt to keto or lower carbohydrate diets, they can often adapt more readily to using fat for fuel, but this varies from person to person. Some people never really have the energy on a low-carb diet for exercise that they do on a diet that has more carbohydrate. But after about 20 minutes of aerobic exercise, you rely on a mixture of glucose and fat for energy. So, running woman. Some people who compete in endurance events like to try and increase their endurance by maximizing glycogen stores so that, here I go again, so that they don't hit that wall. So to maximize your glycogen stores, and you can almost double them with the right carbohydrate loading regimen, consume a high-carb diet on a regular basis. Now, I don't recommend a high-carb diet for someone who's not exercising. Generally, high-carbohydrate diets are reserved for people who are doing a lot of aerobic exercise. Exercise helps you tolerate carbohydrates better. We talked about the problems of a high-carb diet in a previous section of the course. The second thing you can do is consume a carbohydrate source within 2 hours of your workout to replenish glycogen stores. And in this case, the post-workout carb needs to be a simple or a fine carb that's absorbed quickly that will stimulate a lot of insulin secretion because insulin promotes glycogen storage. And then working out regularly will also help maximize your glycogen stores. The other thing you can do if you're competing in a long endurance event, aerobic exercise type endurance events like a marathon, is to replenish your glucose by consuming carbohydrate during the event. The carbohydrate that's best for consuming during an event is a dilute carbohydrate, and there are sports supplements, sports drinks that are formulated specifically with the right amount of or right proportion of carbohydrate. A juice or something like that is too concentrated. You could get stomach upset and it won't be absorbed as quickly. You want quickly absorbed carbohydrate, and sports drinks have a composition where they have rapidly absorbed carbohydrate available. Now, it's not really necessary to consume a carbohydrate source unless you're going to work out aerobically for an hour and a half or more. So as far as using fat for exercise, one thing again to remember is that you can only use fatty acids to make ATP or energy for exercise if oxygen is available. It's obtained from the general fat stores. There's no such thing as spot reducing. Years ago, they used to talk about doing very specific exercises, that if you exercised your leg muscles, you would reduce fat in your legs. If you did ab exercises, you would reduce fat in your abs. That's not true. When you use fat for fuel, you mobilize it from the general fat stores. The other thing to remember is that you get to the fat burning process faster with training. if you're in good condition, and that helps with endurance. So protein is a minor fuel source for exercise. You really want to reserve protein to be used for muscle building, maintaining lean mass, making enzymes and hormones, protein hormones, that other important functions of protein. People who participate in long endurance activities will start using protein for fuel towards the end of the event, though. Athletes or people who are exercising, doing weight training to increase muscle mass or endurance training do need more protein than the RDA, though. So as far as adding muscle mass, you can add a maximum of 1/4 to an ounce of muscle mass a day. 1 ounce of muscle has about 7 grams of protein, so you can see there that these really high protein intakes that are consumed by some people trying to build muscle just aren't necessary. As far as the maximum amount of muscle you can add, it depends on your genetics. We talked about the different genetic body types. Some people add muscle more easily than others. But at the beginning of a resistance training, you can add about 3 to 5 pounds of muscle every 3 to 4 months. And that will decrease, over time. Actually, there does seem to be a plateau where it's harder to add muscle mass. But that's one of the fun things about weight training is your strength and muscle size actually increases pretty quickly. So you need protein for the synthesis of new muscle, but also for repair of muscle tissue damage to your workout. When you do resistance training, muscle fibers are damaged. And that's actually why strength and muscle mass increases. Your body adapts to the damage by increasing the size and strength of muscle. So you need extra protein for building new muscle and repairing the muscle that was damaged during the strength training workout. So as far as the needs for a strength training person, at the beginning, when you first start weight training, you need about 1.75 grams per kilogram. Remember, the RDA is 0.8 grams per kilogram, so that's almost double. Well, that's more than double the RDA. But as you persist in your weight training, your body becomes more efficient in using protein, so the needs actually decrease to about 1.2 grams per kilogram. You want to spread your You want to spread your protein intake throughout the day so that you have protein available. You don't have to dip into your protein stores during the day. You don't have to pull protein or amino acids from your muscles. So you want to spread your protein intake throughout the day for maximum muscle gains. You want to eat every couple of hours for maximum protein synthesis. It requires energy to build muscle, so calorie needs, if you want to build muscle, are actually much higher. It's hard to build muscle when you're losing weight. You can, but it's really hard. If you want maximum muscle building, you need the calories. Also, to maximize muscle protein synthesis, you want to consume a protein plus carbohydrate source within 30 minutes of your workout. The simple carbohydrate increases insulin secretion. Insulin not only promotes glycogen storage, synthesis and storage, but it also increases amino acid entry into muscle cells and stimulates protein synthesis. So examples are chocolate milk, yogurt, turkey sandwich. All of those are examples of carbohydrate plus protein. There are specialized, powders available that are post-workout, recovery products that you just add to water and shake up and drink that are really convenient. But in one study, chocolate milk was considered as good or superior to a lot of the post-workout supplements that were available. So, like I've said before, some of these protein supplements that are available are convenient. Whey protein seems to be particularly effective at promoting muscle protein synthesis, so that's why some of those whey protein supplements are good for post-workout. And as I've told you many times, because I adore my nephews, that one nephew who played football for TCU, he would grab one of the free, post-workout supplements that they provided when, he was working out at TCU. But he said the main thing that increased his muscle mass, because he had to gain 25 pounds to be a linebacker, was that he ate a lot, and he worked out a lot. He lifted weights a lot. So as far as getting the total amount of protein that's needed, it's so easy to get it from just diet. So to get the amount that's needed, you really don't need those protein supplements. So someone who weighs about 175 pounds, if you used the 1.75 grams per kilogram, that's 136 grams of protein per day. And the average American consumes 100 grams a day anyway. So to get the amount of protein you need, you don't really need to rely on those supplements. And they've done additional studies that indicate that having some protein before working out may help as well. But right now, the general recommendation, that's pretty consistent is having a protein plus carbohydrate source within 30 minutes or so of a strength training regimen. Now, for endurance athletes, they do start burning protein for energy at the end of long endurance events. So their needs are increased 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram, which is more than that RDA, depending on how intensely they're training. So I'm going to stop this clip for now and talk about pre-exercise and recovery meals in the next clip.